What really happens when we die? Is death a hard stop, a blank nothingness? Or is it something far more mysterious? Something that maybe we can't fully see while we're alive, but that we sense deep inside our soul? Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists of all time, dared to step into this mystery. Unlike many scientists who only looked at the body, or religions that demanded blind belief, Jung walked a different path. He blended psychology, myth, spirituality, and lived experience to ask, what becomes of us when the final breath leaves the body? And here's the fascinating part. Jung didn't just theorize. He had his own brush with death, an experience so vivid and otherworldly that it completely changed how he saw the soul and the afterlife. His words, his visions, and his reflections have guided seekers for decades. And today, we're going to walk through them together. So stay with me, because the further we go, the more Jung's perspective will challenge the way you think about death. By the end of this video, you not only understand how Jung believed the soul lives on, but you'll also see death in a way that brings peace instead of fear. And if this topic already stirs your curiosity, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now. That way you won't miss any of our deep dives into the mysteries of the mind, the soul, and the truths that most people are too afraid to ask out loud. Keep watching, because Jung's story is only just beginning. Like the mystics, sages, and visionaries who came before them, these people are stepping away from a system they see as out of sync with the deeper truths of existence. They are choosing silence over noise, clarity over confusion, and purpose over performance. Their withdrawal isn't passive. It's a conscious act, a refusal to participate in a world that often feels spiritually hollow, artificially connected, and filled with endless distractions that numb the soul. Carl Jung, the great depth psychologist, spoke about individuation, the journey of becoming your truest self by integrating both the conscious and unconscious parts of your psyche. And here's where it gets interesting. Jung believed awakening wasn't about escaping life, but about becoming whole. Yet, in a culture obsessed with surface-level identities, consumerism, and the chase for external validation, such inner work becomes almost radical. Think about it. When you start waking up, conversations can suddenly feel shallow. Work may feel empty. Even relationships can become strained when values no longer align. Spiritually awake, people begin to see life not just as it appears, but as it truly is. And with that clarity comes something few talk about, a deep, sometimes painful sense of alienation. Now, don't get me wrong. These individuals aren't necessarily religious, and most don't fit neatly into organized belief systems. Their spirituality is raw, personal, and often forged through suffering, introspection, or breathtaking moments of awe. They're the ones who ask the uncomfortable questions, who search for truth beneath the noise, who value authenticity over popularity, and yet their voices are fading. They aren't trying to fit in anymore. They're not chasing likes, building followings, or crafting an identity for show. Instead, they're quietly moving inward, living more simply, more intentionally, and in many ways, more meaningfully. But here's the real question. Why now? Why are so many thinkers, healers, and seekers stepping away from society at the very moment when their wisdom feels most needed? Is it burnout? Is it disillusionment? Or is it something deeper? A survival instinct of the soul? A sacred retreat to preserve what little authenticity remains? Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And perhaps that's exactly what's happening. These people are not giving up, they're becoming, even if it means walking away from a world that doesn't understand them. So stay with me until the very end, because what I'm about to share might just change the way you see the world around you. Here are 5 powerful reasons why spiritually awake people are quietly disappearing from society, and why you should pay attention before their silence becomes permanent. And before we dive in, take a quick moment to subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss content like this. Insights designed to make you think deeper and live truer. Let's uncover the first reason together. In 1944, Carl Jung's own life nearly came to an end. He suffered a massive heart attack that left him hovering between life and death for weeks. But what makes this moment unforgettable is what Jung experienced while unconscious. A vision that felt more real than life itself. He described it as if his spirit had floated free from his body. Suddenly, he was no longer bound to Earth, but drifting above it, gazing down at our planet from a distance. Imagine that, seeing the world not as streets and cities, but as a glowing sphere hanging in infinite space. Jung said he felt an overwhelming sense of peace, as if the struggles of human life were fading away into something far greater. Then he found himself approaching what he described as a cosmic space, radiant and filled with a sense of sacred belonging. It was as if he was standing at the threshold of eternity, close to what he called the eternal home of the soul. He felt no fear, only an immense relief, as though he was returning to where he had always belonged. But his time had not yet come. Jung was pulled back into his body, back into pain, back into life. Yet the experience left a permanent mark on him. He no longer saw death as an end, but as a profound transformation, an entry into something beyond human comprehension. This was not just theory for him anymore. It was lived reality, and that's why his reflections on death carry so much weight. He had been there, he had seen it, and he returned with a message we can all learn from. So keep watching, because what Jung discovered next about the soul, the collective unconscious, and life after death will open doors you may have never thought about before. And if you haven't already, subscribe now. You won't want to miss the truths we're about to uncover. To understand what Carl Jung really meant when he spoke about the soul and life after death, we first need to look at how he saw the human psyche. Jung believed the mind wasn't just one thing. It was made of layers. At the surface is the ego, our sense of I, the part of us that makes decisions, feels emotions, and deals with everyday life. Beneath that is the personal unconscious, all the forgotten memories, hidden feelings, and little pieces of ourselves we push aside but still carry with us. But Jung went further. He said there's something much deeper, something we all share. The collective unconscious. Think of it like a vast ocean, while our individual minds are little rivers that flow into it. This collective unconscious is filled with patterns, symbols, and truths that humanity has carried for thousands of years. It's what makes myths, dreams, and spiritual experiences so similar across cultures and time. Now here's where it gets fascinating. For Jung, the soul connects us to this greater whole. The soul isn't just a private possession you keep locked inside. It's the bridge that ties your small self to something eternal. And that means death, in Jung's view, is not destruction. It's not the flicking off of a light switch. Instead, death is a transition of consciousness, a return of the individual soul to that infinite ocean of shared human spirit. Imagine it like a drop of water falling back into the sea. It doesn't vanish. It becomes part of something vast, timeless, and unbroken. That's how Jung believed the soul continues. So keep watching, because next we'll explore how archetypes, those mysterious universal symbols, shape not just our lives, but even our journey into death itself. And if you're finding this eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe, because this is only scratching the surface of Jung's most profound ideas. Jung believed that archetypes, those universal symbols that show up in myths, dreams, and religions, don't stop shaping us once life ends. In fact, he thought they also play a role in how we face death and what we might encounter beyond it. Across cultures, death is rarely described as nothingness. Instead, it's a journey. Ancient Greeks spoke of crossing the river Styx with the ferryman Charon. Egyptians believed in a voyage through the underworld. Modern near-death experiences often describe moving through a tunnel toward a bright light. Different stories, yet strangely similar patterns. Jung didn't see this as coincidence. He believed these recurring images are archetypes rising from a collective unconscious, guiding the soul in its passage from one state of existence to another. The ferryman, the tunnel, the light, these aren't just fantasies, he said. They're gateways, symbolic truths that prepare us for the unknown. Think of it this way. Just as dreams use symbols to speak a language deeper than words, death may do the same. The archetypes act like signposts, helping the soul recognize where it's going, even if the terrain is beyond human comprehension. And this raises a thrilling question. If so many people across time and culture report the same symbols, are we glimpsing pieces of a reality we all share after death? Stay with me, because Jung's answer will surprise you. Coming up, we'll see why he insisted that death is not an ending at all, but a profound transformation. And if you're enjoying unraveling these mysteries with me, make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this journey. One of Jung's most comforting insights is this: death is not annihilation. It's not the soul disappearing into emptiness. Instead, he saw death as transformation, a change of form, a movement of energy from one state to another. He once wrote, "The soul does not live for itself alone. It lives in the collective." That means your essence, your inner being, is not something fragile that simply stops. It's part of a larger whole, and it continues in ways we may not fully grasp. Think of nature. The seasons shift, leaves fall in autumn, but the tree itself does not die. It rests and renews. A caterpillar disappears into a cocoon, only to emerge as a butterfly. Energy never disappears. It only changes shape. For Jung, human life follows the same rhythm. The body may weaken, but the soul transforms. He even compared death to a homecoming, a return to the vast collective unconscious where all human experience is stored. Instead of fearing it, he encouraged people to see it as part of the great cycle of existence. So maybe the real question isn't what happens when I die, but what am I becoming when I die? That shift from fear to curiosity changes everything. And that's why understanding Jung's view matters so much. If death is transformation, then life becomes a preparation, a way of shaping the soul for what comes next. Keep watching, because in the next part we'll dive into Jung's exploration of dreams, symbols, and the strange glimpses of the afterlife that appear in the minds of those close to death. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Carl Jung was fascinated by dreams, but not just ordinary dreams. He paid close attention to the dreams of people who were approaching the end of life. And what he discovered was extraordinary. Many of these people dreamed of journeys, traveling across landscapes, climbing mountains, or boarding ships. Others dreamed of doors opening, of bridges, or of being welcomed by loved ones who had already passed away. To Jung, these were not random images. They were the psyche's way of preparing itself for the great transition of death. He believed dreams act like a rehearsal, guiding the soul, step by step, toward something new. And in some cases, he even suggested that dreams might give us fragments of what lies beyond, as if the unconscious opens a tiny window into the unknown. For example, someone nearing death might dream of being embraced by a bright light. Was this just imagination? Or was it the psyche showing them a glimpse of what comes next? Jung never claimed to know for certain, but he insisted that these dreams carried deep symbolic meaning. This is where Jung's genius shines. He didn't shut the door on mystery, nor did he reduce everything to cold science. He allowed psychology to meet spirituality, to listen to the whispers of the soul. And if that stirs your curiosity, stay with me. Because next we'll step into myths and religions from around the world. And you'll see how humanity across all cultures has been telling the same story about life after death for thousands of years. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, because the best is still to come. When Jung studied the myths and religions of the world, he noticed something remarkable. No matter how different cultures seemed on the surface, their visions of life after death shared striking similarities. Take ancient Egypt, where the soul was said to journey through the underworld, facing trials before reaching eternal life. Or Greek mythology, where souls crossed the river Styx with the ferryman. In Christianity, we see images of judgment, heaven, and hell. In Hinduism, the cycle of death and rebirth continues through reincarnation. Different images, different languages. Yet the same themes appear again and again. Judgment, transformation, crossing a boundary, and entering another realm of existence. Jung believed this wasn't coincidence. These are archetypes rising from the collective unconscious, shaping how humanity imagines the afterlife. And here's the part that will make you think. Jung didn't argue over which religion was right or wrong. For him, that wasn't the point. What mattered was that these myths carried the truth of the psyche. They revealed that humans everywhere have always sensed that death is not the end. Still, Jung also admitted that the exact form of the afterlife is unknowable. We cannot pin it down in words or dogmas. What we can know, however, is the symbolic meaning that life continues that the soul journeys on, and that death itself is woven into a larger story. Isn't it fascinating? Cultures oceans apart, separated by centuries, all dreaming the same dream of the soul's survival. What does that tell us about our deepest nature? Keep watching, because next we'll explore why Jung believed it's not just about what happens after we die, but what believing in life after death does for us while we're alive. And if you're enjoying this journey, make sure you subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive. For Jung, the question of life after death was not only about the future. It was also about how we live right now. He argued that believing in an afterlife gives life meaning, structure, and direction. Think about it. If death is the final stop, if nothing remains, then why endure suffering? Why strive for growth? But if the soul continues, if our lives ripple into something beyond, then even pain has purpose, and every choice matters. Jung saw that for many people, belief in the afterlife was what gave them strength to face grief, loss, and fear of the unknown. It wasn't just comfort, it was a way to live courageously, to find peace even in suffering. And here's the brilliant part. Jung said that even if someone doesn't literally believe in survival after death, the psychological value of that belief is undeniable. It orients us toward hope. It encourages us to live authentically, to face our shadows, to grow into wholeness. Awareness of death, Jung taught, isn't something to avoid. It's something to embrace. When we remember that our time is limited, we stop wasting it. We live more fully, we love more deeply, and we begin to prepare the soul for its next chapter, whatever that may be. So whether you see the afterlife as literal, symbolic, or mysterious, the belief itself has power. It shapes us. It transforms how we meet both life and death. And if you're still with me, keep watching, because in the next section we'll explore how Jung believed the best preparation for death is to live fully and consciously right now. And yes, if you haven't already, click subscribe, because this journey with Jung is just getting richer. For Jung, the real secret to preparing for death wasn't about rituals or clinging to beliefs. It was about how you live today. He believed that the best preparation for death was to live consciously and authentically, to face your life with honesty and courage. This meant doing the deep inner work he called individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. It meant confronting the shadow, those hidden parts of ourselves we'd rather deny, and integrating them instead of running away. It meant listening to the quiet call of the soul, and not just the loud demands of the world. Because here's the truth Jung saw so clearly. A soul that has lived in denial, that has never faced its own depth, may enter death with fear and resistance. But a soul that has embraced life fully, even with all its struggles, can enter death with peace. He once wrote, "Death is the goal of life, just as life is the goal of death." In those words, you can feel how deeply he saw the two as inseparable. Life and death are not enemies. They are two halves of the same circle, feeding into each other. So maybe the most powerful way to prepare for death isn't by worrying about what comes after, but by living so fully, so truthfully, that when the time comes, your soul simply flows onward, like a river merging into the sea. Keep watching till the very end, because in just a moment we'll tie all of this together. Jung's visions, his wisdom, and what it all means for you and me. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is the perfect time, because these timeless truths are worth exploring together. So what have we uncovered? Carl Jung revealed that death is not an end, but a passage, a transformation, a return of the soul to something far greater than the individual self. His near-death vision showed him the peace of stepping into eternity. His psychology gave us a language to understand the journey of the soul. And his study of myths revealed that humanity, across every culture, has always sensed the same truth, that life continues in some form beyond the grave. For Jung, the exact shape of the afterlife was a mystery, but the meaning was clear. Death is part of a greater cycle, a sacred rhythm, and the soul is never lost. And maybe that's the most empowering message of all. If life is a question, then death may be the answer, not an end, but a doorway into the eternal. So as you move through your days, carry this with you. Don't live in fear of death. Live in the fullness of life. Love, grow, forgive, and become whole. Because each step you take here prepares your soul for the journey beyond. Thank you for staying with me through this exploration of Jung's wisdom. If this video moved you, subscribe and join me for more deep dives into the mysteries of the soul, the mind, and the human journey. And share this with someone who might need the comfort of knowing that death is not darkness, but a path toward light. And remember, the story doesn't end here.